A review of the treatment of women at the Australian Defence Force Academy is just one in a string of inquiries announced today by the Defence Minister Stephen Smith after the Skype sex scandal. The head of the country's elite military academy has been stood aside while his handling of the matter is investigated. So far, no action has been taken against the male student who broadcast himself having sex with a female cadet without her consent, nor the 6 fellow students who were watching. In a moment, we'll be hearing from Defence Minister Stephen Smith, but first, this report from Peter Lloyd.
The first head to roll is Defence Force Academy Commandant Bruce Kafer. He's been sent on leave for what the Minister calls an error of judgment, and he won't be back at ADFA.
Commander Kafer allowed matters which had occurred in March relating to the young woman concerned being absent without leave or using alcohol, allowed these matters to be dealt with at the same time. Indeed, in the aftermath of the Skype incident becoming public.
The Minister has not applied the judgment test to the male student who used Skype to webcast himself having sex. He remains a student at the Academy, and Australia's top soldier thinks that's okay.
That individual is still at work. He is going through his studies.
Is that appropriate?
Well, I think so. Yes. We don't jump to conclusions. We need to go through a process, and when that process is complete, judgments will be made and appropriate action will be taken to hold the individual accountable.
The 6 students who allegedly watched the sex act on Skype are still at the Academy too. One former civilian defence head thinks that's scandalous.
I'm surprised at the way this was handled. How anyone could come to the conclusion that the behaviour of the 7 male cadets would be dealt with as a misdemeanour is very surprising to me. It seemed to me to be egregiously serious, and I would have been expecting the Commandant of ADFA immediately to ask all 7 of those young men to show cause why they shouldn't have been marched out the gate of ADFA.
The saga began last week when this female student went public.
There's really no words to describe the hollow feeling that I felt when I found out. I felt sick to the stomach.
In breaking the military's long-cherished code of silence, the victim became an offender to some in the military. Commandant Kafer proceeded with other disciplinary matters against the cadet the day after the story broke. That brought this famously angry response from Minister Smith.
It seems to me, in the scale of complete insensitivity to complete stupidity, that this matter was allowed to proceed.
An Australian Federal Police inquiry into the sex on Skype affair is still underway, as well as a parallel Defence Force investigation. The Minister thinks that's a problem. He's opened an investigation into whether there is confusion, overlap and a culture of inaction.
Very often we see, as we do in this particular instance, not just a police criminal inquiry, but also a defence inquiry. And we need to better manage the relationship between those two, and the Inspector General will report to me in that respect.
The Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Elizabeth Broderick, has been asked to review the treatment of women at the Defence Academy. But it's old ground for some. Paul Barrett had to bring ADFA into line over sexual harassment when he was the Secretary of Defence back in 1998. And he gave the then Commandant clear instructions.
We wanted him to know that he had our full authority to deal with people on the basis of values, not just rules, but values. And one of those values was treating people with respect. And if people depart from them, and if we take the current thing, if the Commandant of ADFA's got to explain to people why this was a bad idea, I don't see any future for them in the Australian Defence Force.
Now there is new pressure from outside to finally change the culture within. Peter Lloyd, Late Line.